All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here, of course, for Monster, episode 5.
So Johan's the monster.
Johan is the monster. At the very least, he is seriously a monster.
Yes.
And he full-on executed that Mr. Yonkers
guy. Yeah.
The
Sad.
Locksmith.
Poor guy.
He was
terrified.
terrified.
Like,
the palpable fear.
That's one of those things where it's not so much what you do in a story, it's how the characters in the story respond to what happens that really communicates the gravity of the situation.
Yeah, and they are starting to move this towards that kind of psychological side where you're right, it's more suspense rather than thriller.
And the inspector guy still suspects Tenma.
Obviously, that makes sense.
Unfortunately.
But the crazy thing is I'm seeing this thread of the people paralyzed with fear.
In parallel with the sister.
Yeah, it's now starting to line up. That's the connective thread.
Right.
So maybe there is some kind of supernatural element to it, or maybe
who knows, or
maybe something else.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Which explains why the sister actually, finally maybe managed to actually shoot him. If she was the one that shot him.
Yeah, basically this adds a whole lot of context to what happened originally with the Liebert family.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll end up finding some answers along the way with this story.
Possibly.
So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this episode and see what happens. How apropos.
席に着く前に質問しよう。君はシュトゥットガルト事件の判決の基準を述べる体力は残っているかね?
Yeah, because she's smart like
right,
like Yohan.
被告人は誘拐そのも
And
の
this
の
is just
狂
off
言
the
であ
top
り
of her head.
Yeah.
被害者の死亡はあくまで事故であると懲役15年の判決が下されたものと思われます
Like she's reading from a textbook.
Yep.
結構だ。着席したまえ、ニナ・ホルトナー君。
Yeah,
Yep, she looks exactly like Yohan.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
All right, I am
All
for
right.
this. And she's learning, martial arts.
Now, is that because of her brother? Like, because she wants to be able to defend herself?
ただいまお腹すいたもうお隣に聞こえるわよ
Okay.
Oh, are these...
Yeah.
These are the next
yeah.
victims.
We don't know if she's living with her brother still.
遠い春
Huh.
永遠に来ない春を待ちわびる私
Is that from her brother?
もう半なったらいい加減失恋から立ち直りなさい
Girlfriend, okay.
君に世界で一番美しい花を贈ろう君を花で埋め尽くすために僕は生まれたすごい誰からだろうははなかなかやるじゃない
I love her character already.
Yeah.
She's fantastic.
おかげさまで元気です
で、あの夢はもう見なくなったのかい?
Oh.
闇の中から現れるモンスターの夢。
Wow.
Whoa.
Has she blocked it from her
最近は
memory?
夢見てる暇もないくらいぐっ
PTSD.
すり眠っちゃってなんであんな夢に毎日うなされてたんだろう
Oh my gosh, this is
学校
Jesus.
は
Wow.
誰でも
Okay,
不安定
that's-
になるものさ。
That means this happy
でも
person
自分が何者であるかなん
not
て
going to be
Whoa, you
happy.
could spend a lifetime searching, but you'll never know who you really are.
一生かけてそれを見つけていくつもりで
Multi-purpose into
将
different
来に向
aspects
け
of
て
the
やれる
story.
だけのことをやるだけなんだ。
Oh, this is a good
はい
show.
私頑張ってます将来は検事になりたい
Okay.
They do that with the sound.
I know,
They do
I
that
know.
with the sound.
だから何の話だよそれ
君を花で埋め尽くすために僕は生ま
Yeah,
れ
he
た
didn't send that.
Nope.
まさかペーターにあんな文章を作る才能があるなんて
I
ね
didn't write that.
俺知らないよそんなの
Yeah.
そんな言葉逆立ちしたって俺の頭から出てこないよ
じゃあ誰私のメールアドレス友達にしか教えてないのよ
ミュンヘンにおけるこの猟奇的殺人事
Oh,
件
they're
だ
bringing it
が
up.
犯人はまず両親を銃によって殺害した後二人の子供を紐で絞殺しているさてこの公判の記録から裁判官の判断を解説願おうか
Wow.
ニナ・ホルトナー君
Oh, did that trigger some memory? It's not the exact same
質
thing.
問の
Right,
内
but
容がわからないのかね
Yeah.
いえ被告人による以下
Yeah. Oh, this poor girl.
Yeah.
She relapsed. No.
Oh boy. And
どうしたんだニナ
what is?
ニナ大丈夫かい医務室に行く
大丈夫。
ご夫婦ともとてもいい方だったわ。あんな殺され方するなんて。
Yeah.
子供？はあ、そういえばいたわ、男の子が一人。確かミハエルって子よ。
はい。
The question is this Tenma? Is this the
確か
inspector
に
or
そ
is
の
it
子は
Yohan?
私のクラスにい
Or
ました。
Nina.
でも
Sure.
本当に印象の薄い子でお恥ずかしい話ですけどよく覚えてないんです。それに
Wow.
記録も残ってないんです。
Like a
実は
ghost.
6年前に火事で焼けてしまって。
Holy. Okay,
Okay,
it's,
yeah.
it's Tenma. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
確かにこのケルンに6年前までミハエルという名の少年がいた。何をやってるんだ僕は。
Yeah, you don't hold any. He doesn't hold any responsibility or
そうだ妹は
or
双
guilt
子の
for
妹は
the.
どこへ
Uh-oh.
もうすぐ迎えに行く。
Oh crap.
誰な
Well,
の？
okay.
もうすぐ迎えに行くって。
殺されたハイナウ夫妻が男の子を養っていたんですね。どんな子でしたか？
どんな子
What
っ
do you
て？
mean?
ずいぶん前の
Yeah,
話
who's
よ。
gonna remember that?
それも
Exactly.
1年ぐらいしか一緒に暮らしてなかったし。
Okay. But you know they're split.
その子のことだったら知ってるよ。
What?
上がりなさい。おかけなさい。
We need to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah.
あんた医者だろ？
Yep.
あの子から聞いてるよ。
Yeah.
あんたドクターテン
Oh,
マ
is this
だ。
guy blind?
ラナシでメールが送られてきたの。
嬉しそうな顔してまさか白い馬に乗った王子様が迎えに来るなんて思ってるんじゃないでしょうね。あ、ねえねえ、そういえば最近講義に見慣れない男の子いるじゃない。授業中ニナのことじっと見つめてるのよ。
Okay, that's.
あいつだ。
何が？
決まってんじゃない。
白馬の王子様よ。
Crap.
No.
Crap.
あの子はあんたに非常に感謝していたよ。
Very grateful.
ドクターテンマ。どこからともなく現れたフランツは、そしてある日突然姿を消した。彼は非常に頭が良かった。私の教える英語とフランス語をみるみるうちにマスターしていった。
He's just
姿を消
absorbing
す頃にはどち
information.
らも完璧に操れるようになっていたよ。たった12歳の子が、彼が特に興味を示したのは何の話だと思う
Death.
ね。
War.
戦
Yeah.
争の
Oh
話だ
my
よ。
gosh.
私は第二次大戦中、海軍で U ボートに乗っていた。彼がことのほか好んだのは、我々が連合軍の駆逐艦に攻撃された時の話だ。普通の子供なら冒険団としてこの話を楽しんだ。
But that's not how he enjoyed
しかし
it.
彼は違った。彼が最も興味を示したのは、恐怖だよ。
Yeah.
究極の恐怖。死の淵に立った人間が
Wow.
どんな反応を
Getting at
示すの
people's
か。
true nature and
彼の
stuff.
興味はそれだけ。
Holy crap. Right.
彼はどんな表情でその話を？
目を輝かせて笑みを浮かべていただろう。おそらく。
おそらく。
私は目が見えないからね。
Yeah.
そう。あの子が本当に心を許したのは
Ooh,
た
Is
だ
that the
一人。
sister or is that Tenma?
妹
Okay.
だけ
Yep.
だ。
Knew it. I knew it.
私はその妹を探しているんです。
20歳になったら迎えに行くと言っていたよ。
どこへ？
When he was 12, he talked about that.
Okay.
パパ、
Oh,
行ってきます。
crap.
Oh no, they're dead.
They're showing them all being
Yeah, I
sweet
know, I know.
people and just
I know.
and the smiles and
Ah.
they know.
What?
They know.
決めてたじゃないか。20歳の誕生日になった。
Wait. But what do they know?
あの子は私たちの子じゃないって。
Yeah, alright.
ここで待ち合わせするように話しつけといたんだ
You
からね。
guys talked him
う
into
まくや
meeting.
りなさいよ
You here?
白馬の王
Really?
子様
You
と
sure?
じゃあね。
あ、見て。
来た。
Oh, the music.
どうも、ニナ・フォルトナさん。
はい。
僕、オットー・フ
Okay,
ー
so
ベル
he's
マンと
using
言い
a
ます。
pawn.
Yeah.
どうも。
Oh, crap. Triggered. Or
Oh.
everything is gonna get triggered right here.
Ah.
あなたは誰？
Whoa.
Yeah.
Ow.
Okay.
Oh,
So
that's so terrifying.
that is unsettling
I'm loving
on a whole new level.
I'm loving the layers they're adding to the whole original conflict by making the focus
Right.
go to his sister
Yeah.
Anna, aka Nina in this case. By having her have gone through all that PTSD, she's selectively basically removed those memories from
Right.
her mind.
And
she believes she's actually their child,
Right.
and that was when she saw that little bit of, this is when you were younger than 10, and she's like, wait, but I have no memories of that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And this is what's going to drive her and Tenma into the same kind of situation.
Yes, exactly.
Because they're both going to be
they both
right
have
on
to
the
deal
verge
with the
of-
monster.
Yes, they both have to deal with Yohan.
Yeah. And so they did a really good job of basically, because they, I would say last episode was kind of like Johan's introduction.
Right.
Sort of reintroduction after the time skip.
Absolutely.
And this one was hers, and they did a really good job of making us care about this character that originally we were like, that little girl is terrifying, right?
Right, and we even suspected a little bit that she could be, a monster as well. But now it's like, it's almost, that theory is almost completely shot just by the way they structured this. They could still pull a switch later,
They could.
but I think it would be more along the lines of, would Yohan succeed in corrupting his sister?
Right, and I think that's more of what the issue is, because and oh boy.
And the way they used intermediary characters to communicate the tension, they used the email, really they used the parents, they used the girlfriends, they used the blind U-boat
they used
German guy.
They used the dude at her university that was always trying to ask her out,
Yep, all these things, they used pictures, they used sounds. The show is very much built into a way to psychologically put you on edge.
Right.
So that when things like this happen, they're heightened because you've had a proper build-up all the way to it. And I think that's just a fun way to use this medium.
Yeah, because if you look at what's happening, by itself, right? If you were sort of removed from it, you're like, there's nothing scary about this, right? Like, it's just someone standing there, and then they walk away. Right, like that might be a little bit, like creepy, but that, at best, that's what it would seem to be. But because of the way they portray it and the way they communicate it, it's so much more than that.
Oh man, I'm really loving this show.
It's
really
good.
like
it's
it.
Good.
One of the things that they did also was they used specific keywords and key phrases to have those really obvious double meanings for us.
Oh yeah, bury you under flowers and. Yeah,
the teacher's a demon,
Yep. Just little things like that. Just
searching
sort of
your whole
you
life to discover who you really are.
Exactly. Yeah.
All these things that have multi meanings within the story
to prime us.
Exactly. Yeah. But what I also see is the rewatch value of something where you can see what they're maybe foreshadowing or the themes that they're trying to build the foundation for.
Oh yeah, because I'll bet we'll have a lot of situations where we'll notice things like this now because of what happened last episode and things like that. but that maybe they were doing that since the very beginning of the show, and we just didn't really notice, or we thought it meant something else.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. Like one of those two for sure.
Yeah.
The character of Nina, I'm gonna just call her Nina from now on because that's the name she's going by.
Sure.
We all know that her name that she had when she was in the Liebert family was Anna.
Right.
But the thing is that technically that might not even be her real name because
right.
you know they
we'll
were
still
adopted
call
there.
Johan.
We'll call Johan, but we're gonna call her Nina for now.
Sure. Yeah.
She was introduced as a well-rounded character.
Yeah, like
she had personality, she had quirks, she had flaws, she had endearing things about her,
and it was great because the fact that they used her whole PTSD deal and forgetting everything as a way to reintroduce her as someone else. That's a great way to set up contrast and conflict because you've got these contradictions between who she is now and who she was. Right, and that's something that they're just seeding into your mind of like, at some point we'll get to that, and we can handle the clash between those two things as much as we want, as go slow burn or have it all happen,
I think it's definitely going to be slow burn.
I think so too.
The really freaky thing is how they've set up Yohan to be this living like weapon of mass destruction with regards to fear. Like, everywhere he goes, fear walks with him.
Right.
And it seems like he likes that. Like, at least he's seeking it out.
And you know what it seems like? Okay, because one of the things that I didn't really understand was the idea that he told the blind guy, I'm going to reunite with her when she's 20 or whatever, right? That's basically like if you subtract like some change or whatever, that's about 10 years in between, right? Because I think they were 9 when they were brought into the hospital. Now... that almost seems like he was basically practicing because he failed before. His knowledge of fear and how it works and his ability to maybe manipulate it was imperfect, and he ended up almost dying for it. Now, he's basically mastered it and is able to use it to manipulate people like he manipulated Junkers to the point where he knew exactly what Junkers was going to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm seeing the dots connect here.
So...
But that goal of going to reclaim her or go get her back
what does
when
that
he's
mean?
20, what does that mean? Because I think that the main point of info we got on Yohan was that bit where he said he will never open up his heart to anyone except for his sister. So we were right a while back. I think that
the sister is the weakness.
The sister is the weakness.
Right.
But the problem is that you can't really exploit the weakness without probably doing something towards her that is not going to sit well maybe with Tenma. I think we're reaching too far ahead into the future.
Yeah, and I get the feeling it's going to be something where Tenma will kind of have to like rescue her or something, or because I think what Yohan wants is he basically wants her back. He wants her to be like his pawn again.
Or here's a thought. We had a little bit of a main character shift this episode.
We did.
What if the show primarily focuses more around her than Tenma? And Tenma is the opposite force pulling at Nina away from Yohan.
All right.
And Yohan's manipulation is strong, and she will never, like, truly succumb to it except for maybe, like, in specific key moments. But over the course of the story, it'll be how she wavers on the pendulum of going which direction. It's not going to be that he's going to save her. It's that he's going to be the other choice, and it's not going to be like necessarily a romantic thing or whatever.
No, I don't think so either.
Or even a kind of the visual imagery, the Prince, the white knight, shining armor kind of thing.
The fact that that was
almost, so on the nose in all the right ways.
In a lot of ways, that was more disturbing than the bury you with flowers and the demon and all that stuff. Because it's like because that is what Yohan looks like.
Exactly what he looks like.
So many people would think of him as being the white knight, the prince, the proper and everything.
I'm getting actually
he's so much not.
I'm getting actually some Ubermensch vibes. Like some Nietzsche and stuff. Like his character is meant. The reason why they're in Germany, the reason why this story is in Germany, it might be a little bit on the nose, but I think I'm jumping a bit ahead on the philosophy, psychology kind of things. But Yohan seems like he's just perfect in all the wrong ways.
Oh, gotcha.
And he has the blonde hair, blue eyes.
Right, yeah.
Super intelligence. He's a sponge of knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, it gets me going into some weird, wacky theory, so I'm going to stay away from that. But I think the philosophy thing is important because Tenma is like Yohan in that he is also a young prodigy of his craft.
That's true.
With a specific kind of boons constantly pulling him upward towards the highest point he can reach in his career, his state. And I think that there's going to be some tugging that goes onto Nina that pulls her. Okay, I'm gonna shut up because I feel like
You're about to go
way off the deep end, and I've been holding myself back more and more recently, so I'm gonna hold on to that. So go ahead if you have anything that.
My thought is that so Tenma is going to basically be Nina's call to action, right? So if she's the only one that can basically stop Johan, right?
Okay.
Then he's going to be the one that's saying like, hey, your brother is a problem. He's making appearances again. He's killed all of these people, right?
Right.
And oh, by the way, he's now apparently coming after you because he talked to the U-boat person, right? So he knows that much. So since Johan seems to be doing more of a hands-off approach, that might mean that Nina is kind of safe for now because I don't think Johan will kill her.
I think she's 100% safe. I think she's safer than Tenma.
And that's going to be the terrible thing is that she's the one person that's safe, and she's going to see all this crazy stuff happen, and she won't be able to stop it. Really.
In fact, she's probably going to know that Johan is this horrible monster, but she won't be able to do anything about it because of his influence.
Yeah,
I see this more of a thing of if you let's assume Johan has some, not necessarily a god complex, but he has some kind of superiority complex, right?
Sure.
I think what he might be doing is he might be trying to see the limits of his abilities as who he is.
That makes sense with the whole thing of learning about
exactly. So he's not arrogant, but what I think anyone that comes close to God complex tries to do is they try to find their equal, the only person that's worthy of standing alongside them in godhood.
All right.
And I think that he might have found his unholy trinity in Tenma and his sister.
Okay.
And they're for very different reasons.
Very different.
Okay. But what I think he might find with his sister is that she's not like him, but she could be.
Sure.
And all she needs is basically to be, coaxed in the right way. And it's just, it makes me so sick. But then I think that's the kind of feeling this show gives me when he steps around. That makes perfect sense for something for him to do.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and I know this is a completely different show, but it reminds me of the What's It arc from Clone Wars, when they go to the one place and there's the Dark Sun and all that stuff. But my big question here is, because I think you were going in that direction, is what are Johan's motives? Because right now he has the motive of wanting to get his sister back, whatever that means.
I think it's connection. It's a very human thing. I think that he spent a lot of intense moments when she was near there. And if anything, she knows what he did.
Right, yeah. And
so
that
she is a threat, potentially, if she was ever to get her memories back.
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer, kind of a thing. Yeah, totally makes sense. But that's just something to allow him to keep doing what he wants to do, right?
Sure.
So what is his end goal? I don't think it's going to be anything money related or anything.
I don't think
like that.
I don't even think it's going to be really an end goal of. So you know how in kind of a tabletop session wheel, they'll generally have some kind of goal of acquiring.
Yeah.
I think that this is not going to be that. I think this is going to be a goal of discovery. And his goal is going to be what the teacher was hinting about of finding out who you really are.
Yeah, that totally makes perfect sense. That totally makes sense.
He'll go through some twisted self-discovery identity arc.
Absolutely. And that will be terrifying. And we will probably only see that because by that point he'll have acquired his sister somehow, and it'll be through her eyes, and it will be awful.
Or a mixture of hers and Tenma's, because Tenma might join up with the investigator, and there'll be this dual-pronged story where we see things that Yohan's doing, but we don't really see the why, and we get kind of this background kind of thing that was inferred, kind of like in this episode, which was structured. It's directed so well. And then we get the Tenma police investigator who are like uncovering the mysteries of
who Yohan is,
what he is.
Yeah.
And I like how we theorized a while back, I think incorrectly, I think it was mostly me theorizing this, that there was some kind of religious, supernatural potential element here. But what I think that's meant to be is the overtones in where whenever people go on the path of self-discovery, you tend towards asking questions that have answers that aren't really answers.
Right, they're more like transcendent questions.
Exactly, right. The answers themselves are usually more questions, and oftentimes things like religion will give you those kind of dead-end answers that are there to kind of keep you satisfied, but wouldn't satisfy someone like Yohan.
Right, and the other reason I think they're doing it is because I think they're not going to actually do anything of like Yohan is someone that's possessed by a demon or anything like that.
Right.
I think they are very much wanting it to seem like Yohan is basically the incarnation of evil.
Right.
And
more so fear, though. I want to bring that up because
that was
his fascination with fear.
I'm really glad that they did that in this episode because it gave like an easy anchor point for Yohan and also a way to distinguish him from just like he is a very bad guy.
Right. He's not a killing puppies kind of.
I mean, he might be. Who knows?
He's like the epitome of Machiavellianism. Like Machiavellianism to like the umpteenth degree.
Right.
Like there's probably some nihilism and some other things going on in there as well.
Who knows?
But I think that with what we've seen thus far, he is the kind of person who I would peg as the master manipulator.
Sure, absolutely. Yes.
Like the charisma score that goes into the dark side. Like
right. Yeah.
Like and then a high intellect score as well.
Right. But
to back it up.
What I'm and yes, absolutely. And why that makes me really curious is because when you have someone like that, that's not going for the rule of cool per se,
right,
but more of rule of like in Johan's case, I guess like dread, right? Of just being this force that they don't really want you to be able to fully understand it.
Right.
They just want you to be able to identify it. Right?
Yes. So when you see the effects of it lingering on people, you attribute it to Johan, even though it might not even be him.
Exactly.
Like how the parents were worried about telling her about the 20th birthday
and making that sort of remind us of Johan, be like, is this Johan too? Right.
Right. And we don't know.
And in order to keep that thing going, if you condense their goals into something concrete and tangible in the material world or whatever, right? A lot of times
localizes it,
and that can take away a lot of the sense of mystery and what do we fear most? The unknown.
Yeah.
So I think that whenever they get into basically whatever Johan's goals are, that's where I'm most interested for them to go.
Ooh.
Because
Go ahead. No, finish.
Well, just because the way they handle that is going to be. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I have a crazy idea.
Okay.
You know how he said he was kind of focused on understanding the fear?
Yeah.
You know, one of the thing a lot of people kind of said about him was that they knew that there was a boy with them, but they don't remember him. Something about him not standing out. Now, here's something that's really interesting. There's a show called Doctor Who where they have an element in there where they basically make a perception filter over people where when you look at them, you can't look straight at them. You look off and to the side, and it makes it seem like they're not there even though they're not invisible.
Okay.
It's basically a trick with the eyes. What if Johan is so delving into the underlying current of what fear is that
the
when
psyche
people
of humanity,
that when people look at him, they have to kind of look away a little bit, and it makes him even more anonymous because they're like, something unsettles me about him,
right?
And the animal tendencies within us go, don't look him in the eye.
It's like the thick shell that you were talking about, where basically it's. it looks real enough that you're like, okay, there's nothing I need to be like inherently like run away now or like overtly disgusted by, or, you know, anything like that. It can kind of pass under the radar. But there's just that little bit that peeks through subconsciously that makes people just like,
it's kind of like when you see someone excessively having PDA with their significant other in, like, you know, in public, and you kind of go, oh, and you kind of look away, but instead it's subconscious. You're just looking over an area and you just kind of skip over it. And it's not in the sense of where, with even like for some people when they're like seeing, you know, some people, you know, doing something gross out in public or something kind of, you know, like that, they kind of go, oh no, but then they go like, you know, they look back at it. This is completely different.
This is something where they realize that there is something unsettling and almost unnatural about that thing, and
they subconsciously avoid it.
Best to just ignore it because I mean, we do this all the time.
We do this all the time.
There's something that would just basically shatter our world. We ignore it. We pretend it doesn't exist because that way we don't have to deal with the world-shattering implications.
Yeah. Here's an example. Is like when you're about to fall asleep and you catch a shadow in the room and it looks like something, you know, scary potentially.
Okay.
Your mind goes, okay, I rationalize it, it's not anything, so you're fine. But you also try to basically not look in that area potentially at that point if you had a legitimate, like, you know, moment of fear with it, because you don't have to. Why do you have to look in that direction? You don't. You turn around, you look at the other side of the bed, and you go to sleep. You're never scared, you know, at that point.
And the idea is that, and with that example, a lot of people might think like, oh, no, but I don't really do that. But if you remember back to when you were a kid, you probably did that a lot. Yep. And the idea is that, we just get over those sorts of things because, you know, we get older and it's not really that big of a deal, right?
Right.
But if you were to take that element of fear and basically magnify it to something that you're not used to, like what Johan probably is, I can bet that's exactly what happened.
That's exactly it, yeah. I think I'm blowing this up a little bit more than it probably is.
No, but I think they want this to be something that can't be blown up this much. The fact that they used the revelation monster at the very beginning of the show means they want this to be a very big deal to the point where it doesn't feel natural. It feels supernatural.
Right. And so his presence does feel a little bit kind of a little bit thick, you know, like there's at some points where they're trying a little bit too hard. But one of the things I have to give props to the directing side of this, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, is they really know how to properly set things up with sound.
Yes.
Sound is such a key thing in this show.
Oh, yeah.
They do some clever shots. Like there's some shots where they show the guys all walking past her without their heads being seen.
Yep.
Very genius.
Yep.
But the way they do things with sound. There was
like
a part where they like
fork
going into the hot dog.
Oh yeah,
the sausage. I mean,
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's Germany. Yeah. But or when she actually sees him, I think they basically like I want to say they took out the sound, but I don't think they did completely.
No, they had
probably. Yeah, they had some kind of ambient sound in there
kind of
that basically
static.
makes it just seem even more terrifying. Like and it's fantastic job because you know it's like it's like sound in Death Note when it's like they make eating a potato chip sound epic, you know, right? But the reverse, because they're instead of making it epic, they're making it scary,
right? Or they're making it hit the unknown kind of. I would say there's some kind of sensor that we have. When we have certain sounds come over us, it makes us go into a little bit of survival mode. Like it triggers our amygdalas in some particular way. But with sound, I feel like this is something we've noticed a couple of times, but there's other times where they'll completely remove sound, like background music, everything like that. And usually when that happens, it's a very clever time to have someone say something ominous.
Right, yes, because it completely draws your focus to what they're saying. Yeah.
Right, and they did that at this point with the psychologist or the psychiatrist or whatever, the counselor.
Yeah.
When he mentioned like, some kind of darkness.
Yeah. It's like okay, would a counselor actually say, you know, use those kinds of words? Probably not. Is it fitting? Absolutely.
I want to say that there's something else that's potentially here in this show, is the fascination that someone like the counselor would have with someone like Yohan. they wouldn't see it necessarily as something pure evil and necessarily. There's almost this kind of attraction. They're drawn to that idea of the...
Right, because they spend their whole life, thinking about that kind of stuff.
Like the psyche of humanity, it's like, if you're that interested in it, you can't just stay on the bright and pure and pretty side of things.
You probably would actually try to look at dead in the eyes.
Yes,
and that might not go very well.
And that might not go very well. I feel like we're going to get specific scenes where Yohan is going to unveil himself.
Yep. The one
just like a little bit.
The one
and
that
it will like just completely break people like it did Junkers and
what I'm
Nina.
Specifically looking forward to seeing that for, not Nina, because no,
please not Nina.
Please not Nina, but the inspector guy, because they've already shown him to be eerie and very proficient and all that stuff.
And seeing him on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Seeing on the opposite end of the spectrum where basically Yohan breaks him, that would...
I think everyone that's not Tenma and Nina is 100% on the table.
Yeah, and I think even Tenma and Nina are on the table
as well, but they're just not 100%.
Right, it's the way that they'll be broken will be different.
Right, they'll evolve.
Right.
They won't break fully. Well, we don't know.
They could.
We don't know.
They could.
That's not guaranteed. That's true.
I mean,
because it would be very brutal to watch.
It'll probably
one
just be
of them
slower
unravel.
and more drawn out.
Right, and that's the point. I don't think the inspector is going away anytime soon.
No. It's probably going to be, and I'm just throwing out
numbers,
bullcrap numbers, but it'll probably be something where it's like, okay, episode 30 or 40, and he's like, he knows that Tenma didn't do it, and he's like catching on to it, and he's got some lead, and he goes to investigate it,
right.
And there's no one else around, or everyone else has been conveniently like gotten to not be there or something like that. Yohan manipulates him to come to some abandoned area or whatever, and then he dies.
This was a very different structured episode in terms of story, in that they brought in a different character as the focal point. They had side characters brought in that are relevant to the focal points, the focal characters, story.
Yeah.
But I think this is a clever way they can move the story forward. Is they shift the focus point around based on people that have been touched or interacted or influenced by Yohan.
Yeah.
So in a way, it creates not a dual character dynamic, but potentially a triple character dynamic.
Right. And
with a bunch of side characters.
Right.
Like a ton.
And in between the transitions, they can do these kind of micro time skips.
Yep.
Where it's set up so that like, for instance, Tenma going around investigating the murders.
Yep.
Totally makes sense, right? That he would do something like that.
Right.
But that's something that probably took a lot of time, right?
It's not relevant to know exactly when it happened.
Exactly when it happened, how long it took, and things like that. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. And then things with, like, Nina, at the university, right? That was a much more noticeable time skip because we hadn't seen her in a long time,
Right.
but they could still do stuff like that where it's like, okay, now let's come back to this person, and if they're further along time-wise, it doesn't feel jarring because, well, we've seen other stuff happening in the show, so it makes sense that time's passed.
But I also like that the U-boat guy, probably my favorite side character in the show so far.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Outside of the main three, and the inspector, I even like him more than the inspector.
Me too.
The inspector is a very cool design, and with his like quirky
absolutely
keyboard thing.
But the U-boat guy feels like the anime grandpa, basically.
The tsundere grandpa.
Yeah. But maybe even easier to talk to.
Oh, way easier to talk to, yeah.
And the idea that, like, I would love to be able to just talk to somebody and just listen to their stories.
That brings up the contradiction between Yohan doing something that's so nice and actually compassionate, letting this old guy share his stories with him, but then the way he responds.
About fear.
Well, yeah, but I don't think that's the point. He doesn't sound like that. He's like, yeah, I can't wait to hear about how what was it like to be on the verge of death, and what did that fear feel like?
Exactly.
It's like,
how did
this psychopath, like,
and it might not seem like that at the beginning, but then it's like, oh yeah, what did they do? Like, wait, oh, they killed themselves, really? Like, or whatever.
Do you remember Slughorn talking about Voldemort? This reminds me of that.
Yep.
I got serious like Voldemort vibes because Tom was not a evil kid from any appearance, like by appearance's sake at all.
Yeah.
It was just only when you met his really close friends that you were like,
Exactly.
oh shoot, he's doing what to kids? Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they totally made him look evil in the movies.
Yeah. But
yeah.
But I like that they're doing it this way, in that never is Johan going to appear to be anything more than probably a proper gentleman.
Right, exactly. And even with the
he is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Literally.
Yep.
Another religious tones there. Yep.
And I love the fact that he actually told the guy that, that's not my real name.
That's not my real name.
But he only told that to the blind guy. Like,
oh man, this show. Okay, I'm teasing on the edge of like going into full crackpot theory territory, but I say we wait for that for now, get some more info, get more into these side stories. Good. I'm excited for those. Yeah. Next episode's going to be awesome. Yeah. And if you want to see that next episode, transition, check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access. Also comes with Discord access. You can chat with us about the stories we watch or whatever. And yeah, we'll see you there. But until then, Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.